Oh, okay then. Where are we? Where are we at the moment?
You ain't so tough with that bad boy talk. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
The day after the night before. Yeah, that's right. 2 consecutive losses in a row in the Prem. I'm really reluctant to add that Lincoln performance in as too much of a negative because it was away against an EFL club with a completely rotated young team. Sort of take the dub and move on. It's really Bayern Munich you add in there as well. That was more disappointing. And we are now at what can only be described as a really poor run at Chelsea, and the mood checked, the temp check, the vibe check is low, understandably. Very, very frustrating. I've been listening to loads of reactions from different podcasts, content creators. I've read articles. I've listened to different people's opinions, and I've sort of aggregated some vibes, and I wanted to speak about it today. About the sporting directors, the injuries, the young teams, the manager, the red cards, and the general concern over Chelsea at the moment. Very frustrating indeed in a day where, we all laughed at Man United losing. Liverpool lost to Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace having a lovely time over there, the only undefeated team left in the Premier League. It was an opportunity to get a good win against a side in Brighton that can give bloody noses to big sides. But the truth is, you need to look at the stats before and after the red card. I watched the match of the day analysis. It showed Chelsea were very good to the red card. After the red card, they were very poor. How much do you blame Maresca for these red card situations? Incidentally, and almost I say ironically, but the 2 red cards are from more senior players. I mean, we're not talking about Steval doing something silly here. I know Andre Santos did make a mistake, or another young player like that, or a Hato. We're talking about Rob Sanchez, who's about to turn 28 years old. How old is Trevoh Chalobah? Because Trevoh Chalobah is not one of these kids either. So he is 26 years old. So he's in his prime. 26 as a senior footballer. So these are the players that are getting themselves sent off for Chelsea at the moment. So we're going to get into it, guys. But very, very painful indeed as a Chelsea fan. This has been way too turbulent. We've enjoyed some great stuff in the summer. And indeed the latter part of last season. And we do have some really great talents that we haven't got this decimated, peculiar squad where we think, what are we going to do with this lot? It's really set up, that we have an opportunity to build something great. But are we going to do that with the current setup? We're going to get into it. Guys, thanks for joining me. As always, thank you for your support. I do still hold that dream one day of reaching the 200,000 subscriber mark. I'm at the point now, because I don't think I'm everyone's cup of tea on YouTube, which is fine. I've sort of made peace with that I'm not the populist choice. That I have maybe exhausted the market. People will be upset with perhaps my takes or no longer enjoy the content and unsubscribe. So it's been dripping up and up very slowly, but of course some people are leaving the good ship, Yannick, the good ship Football Therapy, which is fine. They're of course welcome to come and go as they please, but I am very grateful to those of you who hang around, like and subscribe and do all that good stuff, so thank you for that. So, Chelsea, first of all, where do we start? I heard CFC Central Sam on the Londoners Blue podcast sort of, in a way, not necessarily defend the sporting directors, but not criticise them in regards to, example, the injuries to 2 massively key figures in Levi Colwill, and then, Liam Delap on deadline day. It sort of happened again. We've been really unfortunate with strikers. And the thing is with Nico Jackson, I can't confirm this through any particular, but there's murmurs and sort of suggestion that Maresca had enough of Nicholas Jackson, and he was still training with the squad. He probably would have kept him as third choice, but he was sort of, after the double red cards, that the Chelsea manager was like, right, well, you are just demoted in my brain. Rightly or wrongly, many people, Chelsea fans, will have sympathy with that. But then, at the same time, he was a striker that, has demonstrated he can offer stuff to Chelsea, he can make Cole Palmer better. But even Cole Palmer was like losing his mind against Nico towards the latter stages of last season, screaming at him, remember? So the Jackson goes, he's having a terrible time, it would seem, at Bayern Munich, by the way. It doesn't look like he's settling in and doing well at all, but that's by the by. We'll still sell him come next summer. We'll make a profit on Jackson no matter what. Yeah, so don't worry about that. We might not get the 70 plus 80 million quid that they thought the market would dictate and demand for a centre forward like Jackson, especially after a quiet season at Bayern, but he will go, we'll make a profit, whatever. So I'm trying to look at the scenario. He goes, we bring back Mark Gue. I do believe in profile, the sporting directors, and indeed, Maresca likes Mark Gue, but he's clearly looked at him this season and gone, well, you're not ready for what I need. And we can criticise that. I mean, we're all calling to see him maybe, but I guess we just don't see him in training. Maybe he genuinely isn't ready. I feel bad for the kid massively because he did score a goal for Sunderland in the Cup. I know it turns out now he's not Cup tied with the rule change or whatever, but he scored a goal for them and he'll be looking at them having a lovely time. Are they third? Are they third in the Premier League? They're certainly above us. So I do feel bad because he could have been part of that party. And they're fourth. But everyone's a lot of people on 11 points. So Liverpool are on 15th, Crystal Palace 2nd and 12th, Chelsea all the way back with 8 points. Had we'd won, we'd been 4 points off the top of the Premier League. I mean, it is really early days, and it is super, super early days. Let's all hope that Arsenal will lose. And if Arsenal lose, we'll be 2 points behind Arsenal still, title challenging Arsenal. Just really is context of where we are at the moment. The season is just still in its embryonic phase, but there are concerns, and that's why I want to speak about this stuff here. So there is the issues with the striker. I'm gonna speak about Maresca's decision making and reactions to adversities, but there is that element with going into this season, the big criticisms by the Chelsea fan base collectively, and it's not for me to speak for you watching, but what I was seeing is people felt okay with the attackers, with the midfielders. They liked how we had Delap and Joao Pedro, and for example, Pedro Neto can fit in there. Fine, Mark Gue's come back, and even though none of us agreed with it, we've seen Tyreek George do something there. So I think in the end, we're all like, cool, Joao Pedro's the guy. Liam Delap's a really good signing that loads of people wanted. It was kind of fine. The main thing was the Levi Colwill replacement and the goalkeeper. Yeah, and of course the defence and the goalkeeper are the two massive problems in the last 2 game weeks. Of course, red cards, both Dogzo offences, which is of course denying of a goal scoring opportunity for those who you don't know what Dogzo is an acronym for. So yes, the goalkeeper. Let's talk about the goalkeeper quickly. I say it all the time. I've never felt convinced by Sanchez. I never will be. He's not good enough. There is an argument that Chelsea are really hoping, that he could have been because of his good Club World Cup and the end of last season. And he didn't start the season too badly in his defence, which they probably felt fleetingly vindicated in their decision. But they probably thought, yeah, Sanchez will see us out to Penders. Because in the same way, they try and predict the future, and sometimes they get hits, sometimes they get misses. Mike Penders, he started well in Ligue 1. If he truly is the truth, like they believe Stevao is, like they believe Paez and Santos, and Cole Palmer was a little bit of a. I like the signing. Joe Shields liked it, but no one could have foresaw how good Cole Palmer would be for Chelsea. Like, just simply that. So if they're thinking, look, what's the point in signing a big money goalkeeper if Penders is going to be ready in 12 months and Sanchez can carry us over? It was a risk. It wasn't worth taking. They should have signed Mike Maignan. It is a categorical mistake. Mike Maignan could have played for Chelsea for 2 years, maybe, brought Penders back and applied pressure, and you would have just had the guy. Remember, what's blowing my mind is we reacted to news stories suggesting that terms were agreed between Mike Maignan and Chelsea in terms of wages. Chelsea just argued over a little bit of what they cost, how much he was going to cost. Apparently, we've got January funds. I don't know if he could be registered to the A-list in the UEFA Champions League, but I don't care. I mean, I'd just buy him in January for the Premier League and Cups. For domestic competitions, I would genuinely would. I'd go to Milan. How much money do you want? You're going to lose this guy on a free. Let us buy Mike Mignon. So there's the goalkeeper situation. Of course, he's done it again, Sanchez. He didn't look really convincing against Brighton. And of course, the weekend before, he got sent off for a dogzo and he served a suspension. Fortunately for him, in a Lincoln game, he wasn't going to play in. And then there's the defender, yeah? So the defender is Levi Colwill. We all learned he's our most important central defender, yeah? And he's out for pretty much the season. So what's the alternative? Well, if you remember the summer transfer window, I was saying sign Mark Guehi. I don't care. Sign Mark Guehi. Sign Mark Guehi. Maresca, and then this is probably one of the, ways to, I suppose, defend Maresca. He was just so adamant Chelsea needed a central defender. He did not want to go into the season without Colwill. He thought we were short. I guess he's been proven right in many ways, but then, of course, some Chelsea fans will be like, well, you should be playing Achampong more. Of course, it's different profile, right-sider, right-footer. Badiashile comes back from injury, looks more interested in getting in a ruck than playing football. And it's a huge catastrophe. And do you know what? Like, again, yeah. And this, I said this on my Instagram. I'm going to say it here as well. Maresca let something slip in his pre-match. I don't know if it's letting slip, but it's basically confirming what I've had a suspicion, and I would have mentioned on here a bunch of times before. The bomb squad isn't Maresca's decision. I'll put the farm on it, mate. Everyone goes, oh, why is Maresca? You know, he gets criticised. He talks about his 75-year-old fisherman dad when being criticised about Disassi and their conditions. He's not saying it's not my fault. He's saying it's my that ain't hard. My father's working as a fisherman's hard. So everyone thinks it is his decision. Remember when he first comes in, he actually said Sterling's going to be important the pre-season before last. Sterling gets chucked down the bomb squad and gets loaned to Arsenal. He played Disassi. He played Disassi as like a sort of that sort of right-sided defender. He maybe didn't perform that great. But when Simon Johnson of The Athletic, said, could you bring back Disassi? He went, I haven't heard anything from the club yet. It's not him. It's the club. It's the sporting hierarchy, the directors that go, right, we don't think these guys fit. We want them off the wage bill. We're going to try and push them out through the bomb squad, yeah? Now, I've said this. I don't like the bomb squad. I feel like it should be done after this. Every player that you buy, you own, basically, as in you got to own it in every sense of the word, and you keep them in the squad. Do you know what I mean? So it needs to be done now, and it's almost like Maresca was thinking, if I get permission to bring back Disassi, do you know what I mean? So I found that really, really telling and really illuminating about what's going on. Look, am I saying Maresca gets it really hard? He deserves full power? No, he's still a relatively green manager. He's done well for us in the first season. He's still relatively green. I do believe in sporting hierarchies. I always have. I've been doing this for 6 years on here. Since the Abramovich era, I've been calling for proper sporting hierarchy. I think we suffered losing Emenalo for all the stick he got. And I think Maresca likes being just a coach and not being an overarching control manager that, can cause issues as well. But so I don't think he can make recommendations. He wanted to bring in a centre-back. It's not his decision to ostracise the likes of Sterling and Disassi. By the way, I'm not saying Disassi and Sterling will save us. Of course not. Ooh. Widget popping up again. We've got wingers coming out our buttocks. We're fine. We don't need Raheem. That's the last thing we need at the moment. But maybe you need a Disassi for cover in certain games. Is Maresca faultless here? Because you could say, oh, this guy, he's working within the parameters of the big brother, the new dystopian Chelsea, that he has to do what they say and yada, yada, yada. Doesn't get his centre-back. He has to take the brunt of the criticisms for the bomb squad when it's not his choice or whatever. He is dealing with an insanely young squad that he cannot plan for Sanchez going out and getting a red card like that. His alternative is Stuart Jorgensen, who, bless him, looks friggin' awful. You know, he cannot plan for Trevoh Chalobah going on this poor run of form and getting himself sent off against Brighton. It was a poor decision. Of course, it was a poor moment from Santos. Santos, by the way, a player that we've all been calling for, well, many of us have been calling for to play. So I do have sympathy for him. I'm grateful for his success last season, and it wasn't smooth sailing for the entirety of last season, but I am grateful. But is he faultless in this? Absolutely not. He absolutely S-worded the bed at Old Trafford. Again, you know, if he could do it again, he would just sub Cole Palmer for Jorgensen when, you know, Sanchez got sent off. We'll probably win that game, yeah. But of course, he absolutely freaked out. And again, he did the same against Brighton. His substitutions were very poor. The Steval for Gusto. Again, Gusto came on and dropped a stinker. Is that Maresca's fault? Yeah, partially. You're his coach. You're supposed to bring on players that do well because you've coached them to do well. I do think he's going for a really testing period. I do think we're getting a lot of injuries because of the Club World Cup. So it's so difficult to fully evaluate him. And of course, everyone is entitled to their opinion. There will be some people that have made their mind up on Maresca today, yesterday, or indeed weeks and months before, and that might be a negative one. But the truth is, I don't reckon he is entirely safe, by the way. I know there's all these evaluations of it was always going to be the end of this season, yeah? It was always going to be the end of the second campaign when they do this analysis of him, right? Unless things get, you know, really bad. Apparently some players are upset and not happy. That's pretty much always the case in all teams, and in the modern age when there's player power and the players are worth what the club's worth, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. Maresca's not happy with the hierarchy. Some players aren't happy with Maresca, but it's not all entire. It's not a complete mutiny. And the truth is, guys, I'm so concerned. Like I was last season. Remember when we went through that really turbulent spot and we lost Brighton again. We lost twice to Brighton in the league and the cup, and I was like crestfallen. But I was thinking, what this group of young players, I was thinking, what good will it do to this group of young players with switching the manager again? Like Fernandes has played under like 30 Chelsea managers already. You know, what good will it do them switching again mid-season? And of course, Chelsea as a club, they kept their powder dry. Maresca finished in the top 4. He won the Conference League. He won the Club World Cup. They were right to do so. And, you know, happy faces everywhere. Everyone's happy, yeah? So similarly again, I'm thinking, what good will it do? You know, what managers are available? You know, what do you spend everything in pulling Andoni Iraola out of Bournemouth, paying for all him and his coaching staff to be released, paying the fee to Maresca for the final 3.5 years, paying him off, the amount of money you'd have to spend to take another huge risk financially and tactically with these players. Again, to reference CFC Central Sam on the Londoners Blue, I just listened to it this morning. He said, just wait till the summer, wait until after the World Cup, see what the managers do there. So, firstly, see how Chelsea have done, after this campaign, see what the managers have done at the end of the domestic European campaigns, and also see essentially what the international managers have done, like your Nagelsmann's. Are they still in the posts? Are they still in their positions and stuff like that? It's very, very complicated. The truth is, until Chelsea have really settled into the season, we won't know what the fatigue of the Club World Cup have done. Yeah, I mean, Cole Palmer's back after the international break. Tosin's back. Lavia is sort of fit and available to be integrated in the start of games. I do worry about Chalobah and the central defenders, and apparently they will make signings in January if they think they need them, and it would look like at the moment they need them. Chelsea fans can rightly criticise the expensive acquisitions of Gittins and Garnacho. I mean, Garnacho cost 40 million. He could prove to be a bargain in 5 years' time. Maybe. I don't think any Chelsea fan thinks we're really short on the wings, because we could start a game with everyone fit and firing, as in like fully fit and firing Fernandes and Caicedo in the midfield, Levi Colwill's back, a fully fit Fofana, Reece James, Cucurella, Joao Pedro and Delap are available, and you could play Steval on one wing and Cole Palmer on the other, and they could swap, and Neto, and there's enough cover there, do you know what I mean, of really talented players. I just feel bad for Maresca. We haven't lost a game. Enzo Maresca hasn't lost a game managing Chelsea with 11 players on the pitch since that 1-0 loss to Arsenal way back when. So, of course, we've lost. We lost to Brighton with 10 men. We lost to Man United with 10 men. We lost to Flamengo in the Club World Cup with 10 men. Jackson got sent off. We lost to Newcastle in the Premier League last season when Nico Jackson got sent off again with 10 men. You think of it like that, and yes, criticise how he waves the white flag and freaks out Maresca. Maresca might be a really good manager with Chelsea if you've got 11 versus 11, fair game. But he needs to learn how to deal. And maybe it's because it's a young team and they all, S the bed, as it were. And he does too, which doesn't help. But that's a crazy stat with that lost with 11 men on the pitch since that Arsenal 1-0 loss, which is a long time ago now, and there's a lot of games. So you look at it all together, and I think you have to keep your powder dry. Okay, let me know what you think. Please do leave your constructive thoughts and criticisms down in the comment section below. Remember, you're all welcome here, so thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and I do hope to see you back here soon on Football Therapy. Peace.